I started reading the Word of God because I was drowning. And I needed desperately to find a lifeline or a reason to keep living. I started reading the Word of God because I was tired of listening at the words of men.
Do you ever feel like your life doesn't have a purpose?
Do you ever feel like day after day life just gets more meaningless?
Like life's an endless cycle and we just can't break out of it?
One of the things that really excited me about God was to begin to realize that He is sovereign and that He is auspicious, that He is in control and that He has absolute power. It was interesting to me to find out that He foreknew me, that He knew me before I was born, that my mother and father did not get their first look at me. They were not the first ones to see me. That God had searched me before there was a where or when or this or that. That He had chosen me. That He had monitored my mother's pregnancy. That He had secured me. That He had protected me in the womb.
I do the same thing every day and it just seems like nothing changes.
What's the point? I feel like I have no purpose.
I just want to feel like there's a reason why I'm here. Like there's a point.
Sometimes I don't feel like waking up.
They say that everyone's here for a reason. What's why?
Life is so dull,
It's so stupid.
Pointless.
depressing.
Meaning, so what's next?
I remember there was a time in my life where no one could understand.
God says, I already know all about you. You will never surprise me. Your thoughts will not surprise me. I know your thoughts while they are still afar off. I know what you're going to do before you do it. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. I ordained you. You couldn't have been a stillborn. I ordained you. You couldn't have been a terminated pregnancy. I ordained you. You couldn't have been an aborted baby. I ordained you. You couldn't have died of crib death. I ordained you. I sanctified you.
Some people choose suicide.
Some people choose drugs.
Some people choose alcohol.
Some people choose violence.
So, what should I choose?
Where do I turn?
Where do I go?
Who do I talk to?
Who's my crutch?
Who's gonna listen to my story?
Who's gonna pick me up when I fall?
When your hands were still webbed in your mother's belly, when you were just a bleeping on the monitor, I sanctified you. Before they could determine your gender, I sanctified you. Before your mother began to throw up in the first trimester of her pregnancy, I sanctified thee. Before you were a gleam on a cold night in your father's eye, I sanctified thee. I sanctified you. It means I set you apart. It speaks more than cleanliness. It speaks to a line of demarcation. It means I marked you before you got here.
I choose God.
I choose God.
I choose God.
I choose God. Because He loves me. He is wonderful.
He's dependable.
He's amazing.
I choose God.
I choose God.
I choose God.
I choose God.
I put my mark on you and you are mine. I sanctified you. I set you apart. In fact, it clearly means that I meant for you to be different. I didn't mean for you to fit in. What a ministry to understand. I never meant for you to be in the clique or in the club. I never meant for you to be accepted. I marked you. I sanctified you. I set you apart. You were meant to be an outcast with men so that you could be an incast with God.
He provides for me.
He listens to me.
He watches over me.
Because you were created to win. You were carved to win. You were set aside to win. You were formed to win. The potter meant for you to be a successful vessel of honor, that you might be meat for the master's use. You were not meant to fail. You were not meant to die. You were not meant to quit. You were not meant to collapse. You were meant to live. Doctors still can't figure out why the human body dies, because the body was meant to rebuild itself, refurbish itself, re-strengthen itself. You were not meant to faint. You were not meant to collapse. You were not meant to have a nervous breakdown, a stress attack, a migraine headache, break out in nervous conditions and rashes and all types of diseases and hypertension and have stress attacks and heart attacks and nervous breakdowns. You were not meant to lose it, lose control, break out, kick the dog, slap the cat, kill the children, beat the wife, dog the children. You were not meant to be a failure. You were not meant to be destitute, to be lonely, to be hungry, to be isolated, to be driven. You were meant to be the head and not the tail, above all and not beneath. You were meant to...
I choose God.
Why? Because he chose me first.